In this lesson, you will use a conditional clause to customize a report within Oracle. If you did the brain teaser in the previous lesson, then you probably came up with a select statement that returns the list of all employees, their departments, their salaries, and the average salary within their departments. In this lesson, we are going to take that a little further. So you've been asked to write a select statement that returns a list of all employees, their salaries, and average salaries of their respective departments, but also add a column that contains comments. These comments should compare the salary of each employee to the average salary of their departments and state whether or not their salaries are higher, lower, or equal to their department average salaries. This is an example of the output. So if you look at Waylon, for instance, who earns $4,400 and the department average is $4,400, the comment field should simply say salary is equal to department average. But if you look at Faye, who earns $6,000 and the department average is $9,500, then the comment field should say salary is less than department average. In Oracle 8i, a case function or a case clause was introduced into Oracle, which permits us to evaluate conditions within a SQL statement. If you've worked with other programming languages before, this is very similar to an if-then-else conditional statement. But in this case, the syntax is a little different. It says case, when a condition is true, then do something. When another condition is true, do something else. And you can pass as many of these conditions as you desire. And finally, an else statement, which gives you the default value if none of the previous conditions is true. Of course, you are not obliged to state an else statement. The case conditional statement ends with the word end. So the start is marked by the word case and the end of that case clause is marked by the word end. For instance, case, when department ID equals 1, then payroll department. When department ID equals 2, then sales department, else management. So there can only be 3 departments in this company. A department with an ID of 1 would be called payroll department. A department with an ID of 2 would be called sales department, and any other department ID would be called management. It means we are aggregating all the department IDs into these 3 classes. And finally, an end statement to denote the end of our conditional statement. Over here in SQL Developer, we have the response or the answer to the previous brain teaser. If I run that, you're going to see that it will return each employee's last name, the department, the salary, as well as the average salary of that employee's department. And in this case, we are using a temporary table or a temporary object called the depth average, which is defined by our with clause. You can also begin to see how these with clauses come in handy in situations like this. Then, we are doing a select of the last name, department ID, salary, and the average salary from the temporary object, joining those 2 tables together to return the results, which is each employee and the average salary of their departments. Also remember that we achieved this in a previous lesson using a correlated subquery, which we mentioned could be a performance hit when you're dealing with many rows in a table. We are using a with clause here to return those results. But the question here is to extend these results even further and add a comments column here which states whether or not the employee salary is higher, lower, or equal to their department average salaries. The next query gives you this result. The first part of it is no different. It's the same like we've had before. But we have a case clause introduced within this statement at this point. So we're evaluating the employee salary and comparing it to the department average value, which are these 2 values. So for each employee, if the salary is greater than the average salary of the department, then simply echo the string salary is greater than department average. If the employee salary is less than the department average, simply echo the words salary is less than the department average. If it's not greater than and it's not less than, then it must be equal to the average salary. So else, simply echo the words salary is equal to department average. And we are giving an alias to that column called comment. So if I run this statement, it gives us for the first few columns the same results that we've had before, but we see a third column that evaluates these values and tells us whether the salary is higher, lower, or equal to the department average salaries. The case statement is a conditional statement that can be placed within a select statement and comes in really handy. There is an alternative to the case statement called the decode, but the case statement is much clearer to see and to read and to understand than the decode statement.